Officer Jenna Hart had been with the police force for nearly 10 years. She was known in her small town for being brave, fair, and always willing to help. People trusted her, and she was often the first one to respond when someone was in danger. Her partner on the job and at home was Rex, a large German shepherd trained to work with the police. Rex wasn't just a working dog. He was her best friend. They had been through fires, storms, and many dangerous missions together. Wherever Jenna went, Rex was right beside her. One evening, Jenna responded to a robbery at a gas station. When she arrived, she saw two masked men running out. They had guns and pointed them at her. She shouted for them to drop their weapons, but they started shooting. Jenna fired back to protect herself and the people inside. One of the robbers was killed. The other was caught later and claimed Jenna shot his friend on purpose, even though he was already surrendering. Jenna said that wasn't true, but there were no cameras at the scene, and there were no witnesses who could back her up. A lawyer took the case and painted Jenna as someone who was angry, violent, and careless. They said she fired without reason and didn't follow the rules. Jenna tried to explain what really happened, but many people didn't believe her. The trial moved quickly. Even though she had served the town for many years and had a clean record, the court found her guilty of murder. The sentence was shocking. Jenna was to receive the death penalty. People were stunned. Some protested, saying it was unfair. Others said justice had been served. Jenna stayed mostly silent, her face calm, but her eyes showed deep sadness. Rex was taken away from her. The police said he would be given to another handler or retired early. But Rex didn't understand why he was separated from Jenna. At first, he refused to eat. He would just lie near the door, waiting, ears perking up every time someone walked by. At night, he howled in the dark, calling for the only person he trusted. His new handler tried to work with him, but Rex wouldn't respond. He stopped following commands, and he wouldn't play. It was as if something inside him had broken. Then, one night, something strange happened. Rex was being kept in the police dog kennels, locked behind a heavy fence. But somehow he got out. The gate wasn't broken, and the lock was still in place. No one knew how he escaped. Cameras around the building showed only a shadow moving quickly past, too fast to see clearly. By the time morning came, Rex was gone. Officers searched the area, thinking maybe he ran off into the woods or was taken by someone. But he wasn't anywhere near town. It was as if he vanished. 2 days later, a guard at the prison where Jenna was being held reported something odd. During the night, they heard barking echoing through the halls. At first, they thought it was their imagination. But then they saw paw prints, wet, muddy, and large. The prison didn't allow animals inside. No one could explain how the prints got there. The next morning, Jenna was different. For the first time in weeks, she smiled. "He's coming," she whispered to another prisoner. "He remembers." 3 nights passed. The prison guards were on high alert. They set up extra patrols and checked every corner of the building. Still, they couldn't find how those muddy paw prints had appeared. Some thought it was just a trick of the mind, maybe even a prank. But the prints were real. They showed up again, this time outside Jenna's cell. When the morning shift came in, one guard found scratches on the metal bars. Deep, long marks that hadn't been there before. It was impossible, they said. No one had been near her cell that night. Cameras showed nothing, only static during the hours when the scratches appeared. Jenna, however, looked different. Her face was calm, almost peaceful. She began talking again, telling other inmates stories about Rex. How he had once saved a child from a fire. How he had stood between her and a man with a knife. "He's not just a dog," she said. "He's family. And he's loyal." Some inmates believed her. Others just thought she was losing her mind under the weight of her sentence. But then one night, something happened that made even the most doubtful guards stop and think. It was just after midnight. A storm was rolling in, and thunder shook the walls of the prison. The lights flickered. Cameras went out again, just for a few minutes. But when they came back on, chaos followed. An alarm sounded from Block C, where Jenna was held. Guards ran to the area and found her cell door wide open. Not broken, not forced, just open. And the lock, still in place, untouched. She was gone. Not a trace. Only those muddy paw prints again, leading down the hallway and into the shadows. The search began immediately. Helicopters flew over nearby fields. Police combed the area. Roads were blocked. They thought she had help, maybe from someone inside. But no one could explain how she'd escape without tools, keys, or outside support. The security systems hadn't been touched. Even the electric fences were working fine. Some started whispering about Rex. It sounded crazy, even to the officers who once worked beside Jenna. But the paw prints, they were real. Every time someone checked the surveillance footage, they saw the same thing. Nothing. Just a few minutes of black screen. Then the cell was empty. News of her escape spread fast. Some people were angry, others amazed. Supporters of Jenna held signs and marched, saying the truth would come out soon. Others called her dangerous and demanded she be caught again. No one knew where she went, but one man, a retired K-9 trainer named Bill Harwood, claimed he knew. He had trained Rex as a puppy before Jenna ever became a cop. "If Rex got her out," he said, "he's taking her somewhere safe. That dog is smart. Smarter than most people give him credit for." Weeks passed, then months. No sign of Jenna or Rex. But every now and then, something strange would happen. A report of a woman and a large dog seen walking through a forest. A farmer who said he found 2 sets of footprints behind his barn. One human, one canine. But every time the police arrived, they were gone. Like ghosts. Some began to say Jenna and Rex were on a mission, looking for the real truth. That the robber who lived had lied in court. That someone powerful wanted Jenna out of the way. In her old town, people left food and water outside their doors, just in case Rex passed by. A child even wrote a letter that said, "Dear Jenna, I hope you're safe. I believe you." Nobody knew for sure what happened. But one thing was clear. This wasn't just about a cop or a dog anymore. It was about something bigger. Something no one had expected. The bond between a woman and her dog had become stronger than walls, stronger than fear, and maybe even stronger than justice. The forest was quiet, the kind of quiet that made you feel like you were being watched. The air was cool, the ground damp from recent rain. Deep among the trees, far from the city, a small campfire glowed. Jenna sat beside it, wrapped in an old coat, her hands outstretched to the heat. Rex lay beside her, his head on her boots, eyes half closed but alert. They had been living like this for weeks, always moving, always hiding. Jenna had cut her hair short, wore a cap low over her face, and only traveled at night. Rex stayed close, always listening, always guarding. She didn't talk much anymore, except to him. "We're not done yet," she'd whisper. "We still have a job to do." Jenna had escaped the prison, yes, but she hadn't run just to be free. She knew who had lied in court. The man she arrested, the second robber, had friends in high places. Someone with power had helped him twist the story, turn people against her. But why? That was the question she kept asking. It wasn't just about a robbery. It was about something deeper, something hidden. She remembered the day of the crime, the way the robber had smiled when he was arrested, how calm he was, as if he knew he'd get away with it. Jenna hadn't seen it then, but now she did. He had planned everything, and now she had to find the proof. She couldn't go to the police. They were the ones who had turned their backs on her. Even her old captain, who once called her the best officer on the force, had refused to help. So Jenna turned to someone else, Bill Harwood, the old K-9 trainer. She found him late one night, living in a cabin near the river. At first, he didn't recognize her. She was thin, tired, dirty. But when Rex stepped forward and let out a soft bark, Bill's eyes widened. "I knew it," he said. "I knew you'd come." Bill didn't ask many questions. He gave her food, a warm place to sleep, and, most importantly, information. Bill had always kept notes. He knew the name of the man who had helped the robber, the same man who once donated money to the police department and had friends in politics. His name was Alan Cross. Jenna remembered seeing him once at a police fundraiser. He'd shaken her hand and smiled too much. Now she knew that smile meant trouble. Alan owned a private security company that worked with the police. They supplied cameras, alarms, even training tools. If he wanted someone gone, he had the power to make it happen. Jenna guessed that during the robbery, The plan was for the robbers to get away quietly, and she had messed it up. When one of them died, Alan needed to control the story. He had chosen her to take the blame. That way, the deeper secrets stayed hidden. Money, corruption, deals made behind closed doors. Now, Jenna had to get close to him. She needed to prove he was behind it all. But how could she do that when she was a wanted fugitive? That's where Rex came in. She trained him to deliver messages, to sneak into places unnoticed. He could carry small devices, even a camera. Together, they worked at night, gathering photos, recordings, anything that could help her case. It wasn't easy. They slept in cold places, ate little, and stayed off every road. But they had purpose. And each day, they found another piece of the puzzle. One night, Rex came back from a mission with something important. A flash drive wrapped in a cloth. Jenna plugged it into a small, old laptop Bill had given her. On the drive were emails, videos, and names, proof of payments, fake reports, and even a message from Alan talking about removing the officer who had interfered. Jenna sat in silence for a long time. Then she stood up, her jaw tight. "This is it," she said to Rex. "Now we take it to the world." Jenna knew she couldn't just walk into a news station and hand them the flash drive. Her face was still on wanted posters across the country. If anyone recognized her, she'd be arrested before she could speak. So she decided to send the proof another way. She wrote a letter, short, honest, and clear. It explained what had really happened the night of the robbery, how she was set up, and who was behind it all. She printed out copies of the emails and videos from the flash drive. Then, she sealed everything in an envelope and mailed it from a small town 2 states away. She sent copies to 3 major news stations, a popular crime podcast, and 1 to the governor's office. Then she and Rex disappeared again, back into the woods. Within days, the story broke. At first, people didn't believe it, but the news stations showed the proof. They played the video of Alan Cross talking about removing Jenna. They showed the emails where he had changed reports, paid off witnesses, and used his company to erase camera footage from the gas station. People were shocked. A famous journalist called it one of the biggest police corruption stories in years. The public turned quickly. Many began asking how someone like Jenna, an officer with 10 years of loyal service, could have been framed so easily. Protests started in front of the courthouse. People held signs that said, "Free Jenna Hart," and "Justice for the truth." Even some officers who once believed she was guilty now said they had doubts. A group of retired cops spoke out on her behalf. Meanwhile, Alan Cross was arrested. He tried to deny everything, but the evidence was too strong. With so many people watching, the court had no choice but to reopen Jenna's case. Still, no one could find her. The media begged her to come forward. "You are not a criminal," one reporter said on air. "You are a hero." But Jenna didn't appear. She was waiting for the right moment, and she wanted to be sure it was safe. Finally, one evening, after 2 months in hiding, she walked into the same courthouse where she was sentenced to death. Rex walked beside her, calm and proud. She wore clean clothes, her face serious, but strong. The crowd outside went silent as she stepped through the doors. Then someone began to clap. Soon, everyone was clapping. Inside, she handed herself over, but this time she wasn't alone. A team of lawyers, many of whom had offered to help for free, stood with her. They showed the new evidence in court. The judge listened carefully, and after reviewing everything, the decision came. Her conviction was thrown out. The court apologized for what had happened. Jenna was free. The room exploded in cheers. Tears ran down her face as she knelt and hugged Rex. "We did it," she whispered. "We made it." Jenna didn't return to the police force. Too much had changed. Instead, she began speaking at schools and events about justice, truth, and never giving up. She helped train rescue dogs with Bill and started a group that worked to help other people who had been wrongly accused. Rex became a symbol of loyalty and courage. Kids would run up to pet him, and people often sent him treats and toys from all over the country. But sometimes, when the sky was dark and the forest was quiet, Jenna and Rex would go for a walk where no one knew them, just like old times. Side by side, no badges, No cages, just freedom. And somewhere deep inside them both, they carried the memory of everything they had survived and everything they had overcome together.